Hey guys, it's Jimmy from over at Movie Death Blows. Today we're going to talk about The Batman, one of, if not the most anticipated movie so far of 2022. The Batman is directed by Matt Reeves, who you guys might know from his work with J.J. Abrams. He was director of Cloverfield, Let Me In, the Vampire remake. For some reason, he randomly wrote Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, which is awesome because I loved Under Siege 2, but other than that, super weird to me. He's also the director of the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. I don't really think I need to fill you guys in a lot about Batman's backstory at this point. I think it's pretty much all been covered. So Robert Pattinson takes over the reins of the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader, this time around. Last time we saw him in live action, obviously Ben Affleck was playing him in Justice League and the Snyder cut of Justice League. Now Ben was originally attached to write, produce, and star in this picture, but things just didn't go that way for whatever reason. Warner Brothers and DC. He seemed to always be having issues with these types of characters. So that's where Mr. Pattinson comes in and takes over the character of Bruce Wayne, Batman, his alter ego at that point. Now when Robert Pattinson was first announced in the role, obviously it drew a lot of criticism and angst from moviegoers because a lot of people really only knew him from Twilight, but they have seen his other works out there. I mean, he's awesome in Christopher Nolan's Tenet. There's some weird things that he's been in nowadays. Like there was a space movie called Life that was super weird that I fast forwarded mostly through because it was boring as all hell. The Lighthouse, he was really good in. The King, he had a super weird performance. I don't know if it was his fault or whatnot, but it was just strange. I think the thing I liked him in the most so far was The Devil All the Time, where he was that random preacher for a couple seconds, a couple minutes. it just he's taken some weird roles, but he's done some awesome things with these roles. Like you actually have to see him in it before you understand how good he is. And Robert Pattinson did a fine job. Like he was a good Batman. I don't know if he was a good Bruce Wayne, but he was definitely a good Batman. See, the thing about this movie, it makes Bruce Wayne out to be like an antisocial recluse, which is not. I mean, he's got this dark, this dark side, this wants to be left alone side, but he also is a billionaire, face of the city at that point. So it can't be. You can't do that with a Bruce Wayne type of character, not in the first iteration. We didn't see that with Christian Bale until The Dark Knight Rises, because in Batman Begins, he was just coming back to Gotham, and in The Dark Knight, he was out there, driving Ferraris and Lamborghinis and stuff like that around. So I mean, right there, that was a bone to pick with me off of the Batman, but it's just nitpicking at that point. There's random things throughout the movie that you'll ask questions about because you might not be okay with the direction that they're going in. But overall, look, when people first asked me my opinion, I'd say the movie is really good. It's really good. It's not great. I wanted to love it, and I just couldn't get myself. I can't get myself to feel that way about it. Maybe if I saw it when I see it one more or two more times, I'll feel differently. But just sitting in the theater the first time, like if you love something or not the first time. And I didn't love the Batman. I liked it a lot. There were some really, really good, solid parts of it. And then there was like 45 minutes of nonsense that happened that didn't need to be there. Like, I love long movies. I love to sit in a theater for 3 hours, 4 hours. I think the longest I've ever sat in there was like 4.5 hours when I saw Gods and Generals. There was an intermission in that movie. So this was 3 hours and it felt like 3 hours. Like, you're like, oh, come on, what are we doing here? And I don't ever say that. Like I said, I love to sit in the theater. I love long movies, but this didn't need to be 3 hours. Like when I saw Justice League and I saw it was like 90 minutes long, I was like, oh, okay, this is odd. I don't know how you're gonna wrap this up in 90 minutes. When I saw this was 3 hours, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this. And then like 2 hours into it, I was like, there could be a half hour less of this, and it would be fine. There's just so many moments that are so slow and so lingering, and I know the atmosphere they were trying to portray there. Like it's a tension building with Batman and everything that's going on in the city with these murders that are happening. But there's shots of Pattinson just in the bat suit, just like lingering around for like 3 minutes staring at things. Like it doesn't need to be. You don't need to do this. Like you can save time and cut it down to like a minute and a half or something like that. Because there's some of these scenes felt forever. You're just sitting there like, are we still doing this right now? Okay. Uh, this is probably from so like I'm a big graphic novels fan, not just of Batman, but of a lot of things, a lot of Alan Moore's work. Watchmen, V for Vendetta. This is probably the closest the Batman movie will see in live action that's as close to a graphic novel, especially like an Alan Moore novel. So they do. It really feels like you're like reading Watchmen when you're watching this. I don't know how much inspiration Matt and the writer Peter Craig took from this, but like, so there's voiceovers. There's I think it takes place. It starts on Halloween, and you hear Bruce Wayne reading Halloween night. It really feels like you're getting that Rorschach voiceover where he's telling you the story as you're seeing it, which is awesome. It's super cool to see stuff like that. I'm a huge Alan Moore fan, huge graphic novel fan. So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, all right, the Batman's gonna be awesome. Like they're portraying this like dark, eerie, murder rampage, kind of in the vein of the Long Halloween, which I say DC's animated movie came out last year and they did a much better job of it. But this is like the first time we get to see Batman as like a true detective, like outside of that one scene in The Dark Knight when they were looking up the Joker and doing the bullet stuff with Batman and that. But like this is like he's an actual detective, like he's solving crimes, and like he's been doing it for about 2 years now in the movie, I think they say. So like he has a rapport with Jim Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, who's not commissioner yet. He's still Lieutenant Gordon. The cops are uneasy about him being around. Like some are cool with it, others are like, why is this dude here? This was probably the most run down we've seen Gotham City in a while. Like I know Joker portrayed it as like a crime-ridden, about to explode powder keg of a hellhole. But like this is probably like when you saw Nolan's Batman, you didn't think that Gotham was this crime-ridden orgy hellhole at that point. When you got to like the Narrows and Arkham, yeah, you got that feel. But otherwise, I think they shot most of it in Chicago, and it didn't seem that way. Like there wasn't really. Didn't need saving. Like there's portions of it are bad, which is like that everywhere. But this is like everywhere you go in Gotham's like a rundown Gothic cathedral at this point. Like Wayne Manor looks like it's a King Arthur's castle that no one's taken care of in 300 years. So like it's an eerie sense that they're going for, which is fine. I got it. I thought it was super cool, but like maybe in the Tim Burton vein, I don't know if that kind of scenery works in 2022 at this point. Andy Serkis takes over the role of Alfred Pennyworth. I always like to see the different Alfreds that they play because, they're all British and they all have different ways of talking and acting. So, like, I thought Michael Caine was the perfect Alfred. Then Jeremy Irons brought something else to the character. And then Andy Serkis, I mean, it wasn't really his fault. His character really didn't have much to do in this in this film. But it's just weird to hear. It's weird to see Andy Serkis in live action, number one, and I love it. It's just strange to see him like that. But, like, just seeing like the different intricacies of their character, like how they talk, how they respond, their relationship with Bruce. That's just, I mean, we got The Dark Knight Rises in 2012, and we've seen Jeremy Irons twice in Alfred. Now we see Andy Serkis as Alfred, and there's an Alfred show on HBO Max. It feels like it's all over the place at this point, but I like it. People that stole the show in this movie, like characters that were awesome. Colin Farrell immediately comes to mind. You like if I told you that was Colin Farrell, if you didn't know that was Colin Farrell, you'd be like, where was he in this movie? Because he's unrecognizable in the Joker in in the Penguin makeup. He's Oswald Cobblepot, and the coolest thing is I think they don't call him Oswald, so he's like Carmine Falcone's number 2, and they call him Oz, and he refers to himself as Oz, which is cool because he's not the Penguin that you've known as the crime lord major villain yet. He's like an up and coming Penguin, and he's really good at it. And like you can hear when you see Oz, you don't see Colin Farrell, but there are times when he talks, you're like, okay, I can hear him now. But like just trying to get your mind to see through the makeup and realize, hey, that's Colin Farrell under there. It's super super cool. And the makeup and costume design guys did a great job with him. He stole the show for the scenes he was in. Paul Dano's Riddler is really good, like really disturbing. I understand why Nolan's movies didn't want to use him after they're using the Joker, because you're kind of like the same type of murderer character at that point. Just different ways of going about it. But like you'll see, like Matt Reeves' movie, it doesn't like steal things from The Dark Knight, but it kind of takes stuff from it and brings it to 2022. So like there's a lot of followers and the Ritter's like live streaming his like taunting of the police and his clues. It's kind of in that vein where they had Heath Ledger filming like his murders as the Joker, and sending the tapes in. But this is like a live stream where he's got Twitter followers and whatever social media apps they were using. They didn't really say, and it's kind of touching on what we've seen going on in the world and the country right now with like internet people going to the extreme, kind of like a QAnon thing, but it's a different twist on it. You'd have to see it. I don't want to ruin any of it for you, but like you don't see Paul Dano without his Riddler stuff on, and probably until the last half hour. Like you just see this guy in this mask, like breathing and yelling things, and you're like, it's like a Zodiac vibe. Super creepy, super disturbing. Very, he's a very worthy adversary for Pattinson's Batman in this film. So Farrell and Dano. I love John Turturro, and when I heard he was going to play Carmine Falcone, I was very into it, and I think he did a great job with what they gave him. But I don't think this was. It's not the traditional Carmine Falcone that you're used to. Falcone, however you want to say it. There's, you hear it different ways. Gotham said one thing. Batman says something different. Batman Begins. So Tom Wilkinson, who played Carmine Falcone, I think that's the. I'm trying to think if we ever saw him in live action, and they did. No, so it was just Tom Wilkinson in Batman Begins. He did a great job with him, but he like overdid the accent a little bit. John Turturro is a very much more laid back Falcone, and it kind of goes. There's one scene at a funeral where Bruce Wayne meets up with him, and he goes through the backstory that you see in The Long Halloween, where Thomas Wayne had saved his life, Carmine's life, when he was shot as a young boy, and then Bruce was watching this as it happened. That was cool. It just didn't feel like this is the Falcone that we're used to. He's not cold and calculating. He's just like he's more of like a murderous villain at that point, which we didn't. I haven't seen that from him, at least. That's not my take on the character. But I thought John Turturro did a great job. Like he was awesome. He kind of made you feel he was the Roman at that point. Like he ran Gotham, and like Turturro can play a mob boss easily. Especially in his older days with the sunglasses and everything that he wears. He did a great job. Zoe Kravitz was... I mean, I loved Anne Hathaway's performance as Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer's didn't bother me. Halle Berry, let's please God never talk about that ever again. I thought Zoe Kravitz did a great job as Selena Kyle. I mean, she's not the full Catwoman we're used to. Like, so none of the characters are fully developed at this point, Bruce Wayne's only been Batman for 2 years. Riddler just came about. Penguin's still an up-and-coming crime lord. So, I mean, Selena Kyle isn't Catwoman yet. She's just a badass with a lot of cats, I guess, if that makes sense. And, like, you're starting, like, the infatuation between her and Bruce and, where their relationship is going to go from here. She doesn't know he's Batman. He knows that she's Catwoman, or he knows of her at that point. Obviously, coming full circle, he'll learn at a certain point later on. I think they are in sequel talks for this movie, so you're going to see more iterations of this character. I'm not going to give any spoilers away or anything like that. There is a reveal in like the final act of the movie that didn't make much sense to me to include here, but there was a super cool look to it, but it just didn't feel necessary. It felt like it was forced, and they were just trying to throw breadcrumbs to the future films at that point. What else did I want to say? Make sure I didn't miss anything. Peter Sarsgaard plays the DA in this movie. There's a lot of quick, I haven't seen Peter Sarsgaard in a long time. In anything that I can think of, at least. I mean, he's in this as the DA. He's Gil Colson, I think is his name. I don't know. I think he might be a character just made up for this movie, but he's only in it maybe for like 5-6 minutes. So, I mean, pretty much it's just the Riddler going on a killing spree, and Batman's trying to, he's leaving notes for the Batman, and that's what you're going for. That's pretty much what you get. It's like I said, it's in the vein of The Long Halloween. You're just not getting, Calendar Man and those kind of hints. This is, full-on Riddler at that point. And his riddles really aren't even that hard. I mean, I figured out most of them, so That's all you need to know about that. But Paul Dano was still super good as him. Like I said, I really like long movies. This just felt like it was going forever, and like I totally enjoy that, but it felt unnecessary here. And like I know what they were trying to do, try to build up this whole final act, but it was just taking forever. I was like, Jesus Christ, let's go already. Let's get to the action. And like the final act, like you think at one point you're like, okay, how are they going to wrap this up in like 20 minutes? Then you look at your watch and you're like, there's 45 minutes left at this point, Jesus. And like so the final act, they're kind of that's where it kind of becomes like the Dark Knight Rises, where all this action kind of just falls into the last half hour, 45 minutes, which is fine. It's good action, but it's like we could have used this beforehand. Like we could have, in between the detecting and the character introductions, we could have seen stuff like this. It's like I was trying to think of what I wanted. I don't want to say there's like a Hurricane Katrina moment here, but there kind of is. But it's not like a hurricane. Like you'll see when you see it. I don't want to give anything away for you guys because I'm gonna see it again more than once, and I think you kind of have to with how long this movie actually is. So Dano great, Farrell great, Pattinson was really good as Batman, not Bruce Wayne. The only other gripe I had with the movie, and it's the same gripe I had with Joker, with Joaquin Phoenix, is they made Thomas Wayne out to not to be who we're used to Thomas Wayne being. Like, I guess when they make him run for mayor, he just kind of turns into like half a scumbag at that point, which is not the character he used to. Like, all men are flawed at that point. And like Bruce worships his father. He thinks he was a great man, but there's no reason to do what they did with like what connects this whole movie and its characters together. Like, I'm a big proponent of not shitting on Thomas Wayne's legacy, and I think Linus Roach in Nolan's trilogy did a great job playing him. Like, he was a good man, a doctor who just wanted to help his city, and like Joker and the Batman kind of took liberties with that at that point. That's, like I said, again, it's nitpicking on my part. I'm just not a big fan of portraying Thomas Wayne in that light. So people are going to get a look at this next week, and I've talked to a couple friends of mine that I know in the press that have seen it already. I talked to Andy Signor from Popcorn Planet. We kind of had the same thought process. Like, we liked it a lot, but it wasn't what we thought it was going to be. Like, there were some really good things to build on there, and I wanted to love it. I thought it was going to be awesome, which I'm not saying it wasn't. Don't take that to mean it's not a really good movie. It is. It's a really good movie, but I don't think it's a movie you're ever going to watch. If it's on TV, you're not going to be like, oh, let's watch the Batman. It's just because it takes forever. That's why. And like, it's fine, but it's not at the same time. So, I mean, I give the Batman a solid 4 out of 5. It's not a 5 out of 5 for me. It's still a really good movie. Everybody should go see it. The performances are great. The cinematography is great. I think Matt Reeves is really building something here. He's not rushing into something like with what DC did with the Snyderverse. So we're going to see it's more methodical, more well planned out. We're going to see these characters grow, with Gotham City and Batman himself. And there are other characters that we can see down the road. Like, I really want to see Mr. Freeze in a live action movie. I think that would be awesome to do. I just don't know how they would do it. Like, the problem is they want to. Snyder wouldn't ground himself the way Nolan did, so it's like a mixture of what you're getting with those movies at that point. I think Reeves can kind of combine the two, where you can ground yourself in some kind of realism and do some cool comic book stuff at the same time. That's what I got from the Batman, and like I said, the Rorschach voiceovers, the Alan Moore inspiration, taking stuff from The Long Halloween, the Dark Knight Returns. You're seeing all that stuff in there. So I mean, Batman comes out next week. Hope everybody goes sees it. Tell me what you think. Watch the review. Subscribe, like, give me your thoughts. I'm really interested in what people think about this movie, because I know I have an idea in my head for what the Rotten Tomato scores are going to be. I think the critics are going to love it, and I think the fans might be a little more disappointed by it. I'm thinking you're probably going to see it's not going to be rotten. I think it's going to be probably in the 72 to 80 percentile range with who likes it and who doesn't. But I'm interested to see. We'll see on Monday. The embargo lifts at noon on Monday the 28th, so we'll see. Go see the Batman this week. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Bye.